How to edit high key and how to capture it is our topic on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now.
Okay.
Hello and welcome, everyone. So what I want to do today is show you how to capture a high key image and then how to edit it. So this is just a suggestion. It's a very, very expensive suggestion. It's a Lasolite 7-foot by 8-foot high key tool, or like a softbox where you put lights in it right here, and then it makes this pure white. That makes it real easy to capture high key images because with the light inside the fabric, it's going to make it pure white based on some of the camera settings. Now, that's an $815 option. Another option, which is a lot less, there's three: good, better, best. What I just showed you was the best option. A better option would be you would take let's say a 5-foot by 7-foot softbox. So, and you'd put the subject in front of the softbox, put the light, shine it on, and now the subject is backlit. Now, a good option would be just use a white background. So you'd use a white paper background, which is pretty inexpensive, and then light the daylights out of that to make sure that it's pure white, and then we proceed. Now that we understand what a high key or how to hit that high key image, let me back up for a moment. Keep in mind, a high key image is one without shadows. It's more flat lighting. It's something that you would normally see on commercials because it's very bright, energetic, and that's what people are looking for when it comes to ads. So high key images you'll usually find in glamour, you'll find them in ads, and in fashion, all right? So now with that being said, here's a couple things you have to watch for. With the background being pure white, to get that setting the way we have, let me switch my screen for a moment to show you. What you would end up having to do is light the background, and I'm going to show you some of the settings I'd recommend for this. So to get the background the way we want it, we have to work on exposure, all right? So with this, oh, sorry, let me get back to it. There we are. All right, so here we are. For this particular image that I shot it at f5. In all essence, let's call it 5.6, all right? So the subject is exposed for 5.6, which means if the subject is exposed for 5.6, the background, the power of the light hitting the background, when we use a light meter and we put it on that background, I want it to be 2 stops greater, which would mean 5.6, f8, f11. So with everything else staying the same, the only difference is I want the power of that light when it hits the background to be f11. So with that being f11, that's bright, that's pure white. If I set the camera to 5.6 and the power of that is supposed to be 11, that's going to be blown out, which is exactly what we want. So think about that. Wrap your head around that for a moment. If the subject in front of me is 5.6, I want that white background to get pure white. I want that to be f11. So that means I have to up the power of the light to make full power going back there to make that very, very bright as possible. Here's a couple problems though. If your subject is too close to the background, you won't see shadows, that's fine. But what will happen is that white will spill back forward and it'll wrap around the subject. So it's important that you place the subject properly. And that's entirely up to you. You have to decide how close or how far away you want the subject to that background based on how much of that light is falling back on them. So now that we have that set, let me share my Luminar screen with you. And here we are. So here's a picture of a model that we photographed on a background. Now, I didn't use the high key. I wish I did. We used a white cyc wall, a white wall, infinity wall. And if you notice, there's that bluish little tint to it. The subject was shot at f5. 5.6 is fine. So let's say f5. Here's before and after. So here's before, and here's after. So let's start from scratch. Adjustment, revert to original. So here's the original image. Now, it looks great, but look how she looks more hazed. There's a nice outline. You can see the outline. It's great. But notice she's not as sharp as she could be, or she looks a little dull. And that's because there's a lot of light in this scene. So the first thing you would think to run to is jump way over here to the portrait tools and click on high key, because we want a high key image, and start adjusting this. But if I do, notice the background comes out beautiful. The background's exactly what I want, but now the subject is blown out. So I do want to add some of this high key to get that background the way I want it, but I also want to expose her properly. So let's come up here to landscape. I know it sounds strange to pick the landscape tool, but man, this dehaze, look at this. Look at that incredible job dehaze does. So dehaze is going to bring back some of the detail in her. And then, while I'm at it, I'll come over to the light tool, and let's adjust the white tones to bring back this background a little more, to get that background a little whiter, and then enrich the black tones to work on her. So notice what we're doing here. We're balancing it. We're taking away from one area and adding it with another. So that's looking really good. Let's see what contrast does for us. Let's see if contrast will be our friend in this shot. Ooh, look at this. So contrast is doing a great job in bringing back some of that detail in the subject. Now I do want to enrich the shadows a little bit on her, and there we have it. So here's before, and there's after. Now it may not seem like there's a huge change going on, but let's try this again. We'll give it a second to render. Here's before, and here's after. How cool is that? All right, now while we're at it, we might as well come down here to the portrait tools and enhance her eyes. There's beautiful catch lights already, so I don't need to add the catch lights here. Dark circles under her eye. It's not too bad. And then, of course, let's enhance the skin. Make it nice and soft. There we are. All right, so before and after. So again, the key to photographing a high key image is to make sure that we get it right in camera first. So if you want it on a white background, once again, make sure that that background is lit, overlit. So if you were to take a picture of that background at f5.6 and you put the power at f11, it should be pure white. So once you start with a pure white background, that's 3/4 of the battle. Then adjust the subject from the background, and if you find that the subject is not getting backlit, move them a little bit closer. But if you notice the hair starts to look frizzled or the hair looks blown out, move them closer to the camera. If it's not, move it back towards the wall. Now that we have that set, make sure that when you put that light onto the subject, that's at 5.6. So it's 2 stops different, and I showed you that chart. Once you did that, Luminar is only there to enhance the image, just make it look even better. All right? So guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.